All right, everybody, welcome back. So let's take a look here. So we got the Path of Arthas set. Let's go through. We'll start off with the common cards here. So Asphyxiate. So destroy the highest attack health enemy minion. So it's 3 mana, destroy a minion. You get some sort of control over it. So I would say like maybe 75% of the time, the highest health minion is the one you want to destroy. But there is the time when you've got a card that's kind of like a how would I say this? You got a card that's a snowball card that you absolutely need to destroy, and you need to be able to target it. So, or there's a card, or there's a case where you have lethal on board, but you need to be able to target a taunt that has less health than another card there. So there are these edge cases, and I would say those edge cases are just enough that I would rather take an Assassinate that's 4 mana than this over 3 mana. Now, it's still a good card. It's still a 4-star card. I don't think it's really like I think there are going to be cases where it's awkward enough that I'm not like sold on it. Darkfallen Neophyte. So 3 mana, 2/5. Battlecry, spend 2 corpses to give all minions in your hand +2 attack. So really good effect, especially because there's some cards that do benefit a lot from this. Ironically, they're unholy cards, but we'll get back to that later. So anyway, here's the problem. Again, number one, a buff like this is really, really powerful in the early game, and there's no guarantee on turn 3 that you're going to have 2 corpses. Number two, because it's attack, like it doesn't make trades awkward. And so like health buffs are generally a lot better than attack buffs. So like, is it bad? No, I think it's good. I think it's a solid 3-star card. Like maybe I have it rated a little bit high, but I think it is a solid 3-star card just because of the effect. I just wish that you just need the right deck for it. Dark Transformation. Transform an undead into a 4/5 monstrosity with Rush. So remember with Death Knight, you have the hero power. The hero power gives you an undead that has charge and dies at the end of your turn. So this is the whatchamacallit. I forget a paladin, promotion. It's like how promotion guaranteed for 1 mana gave you a 1 mana 4/4, right? And so this is a guaranteed 4 mana 4/5 with Rush. It's a Yeti with Rush. And if you take a look at undead minions, the undead minions are rather like they're either reborn stuff, they're death rattle stuff. Like I'm not sure if the Risens count as undead or not, but like you could transform the Risen, you could probably transform the Risens into them if they count as undead. So you're transforming generally something small into a sizable card that has Rush. So ultimately, what I think this is a great card. Like Dark Transformation, I think it's a solid, like it's 4-star card. It's like I don't think it's 5. It's close though. But yeah, just having a 4/5 Rush on 4 as its absolute worst case is enough for me to say it's 4 stars. And I think there's enough times where it is going to be really, really, really powerful. Nerubian Swarm Guard. Speaking of the last 2 cards, this is why they exist. So, Taunt, Battlecry, summon 2 copies of this minion. So, 4 mana for 3/1/3s. You get 3 corpses out of this, which is good. You get 3 taunts out of this, which is like good enough to kind of like stall out the opponent. And then there's things like if you have there's buffs that you can have. There's going to be a rare buff that we'll go over later that would be really good with this. There's the Neophyte buff that makes them 4/3/3. 3/3/3s, that's good with this. You play this plus Dark Transformation, you get 2 1/3s plus you get a rushing 4/5. That's really good with this. So there's a lot, and I said there's like Anti-Magic Shell that's good with this. There's like a lot of board buffs. There's like the other one, the what's the card? It's the one I hate. Grave Strength. You have Grave Strength. That is good with this. So overall, I think this is a solid 3-star card just because there's so many things that you can do with it. And worst case, it's just the triple taunt. All right. Next one here, Bone Breaker. 1 mana 2/2 weapon. After hero attacks a minion, deal 2 damage to enemy hero. So 1 mana 2/2 weapon. That's good. Like you're always going to deal damage to the enemy hero, whether you go face or whether you hit a minion. So it's one of these things where it's like, yeah, this is a solid card for Arena. I think it's probably going to be about basically a 3-star card. That's what roughly a 1 mana 2/2 weapon would be. Okay, next card here, the Emerger Frostbreaker. Battlecry, gain +1 attack for each frost spell in your hand. So, if you go full frost, then you'll probably have frost spells, but they probably won't be in your hand. So it's often going to be like a 1 mana 1/2, but you only need 1 frost spell for it to be a 2/2, and that would be incredibly powerful. So normally I don't think this is good by itself, but I do think there's enough situations where I would take it like about a regular card, like an average card. And I think like in those, and then here's the worst. Here's the other thing. If you do play this on 1 as a 1/2, you still generate a corpse, so you kind of get your value back on this anyways. So it's I say 2-star card. It's playable. Howling Blast. Deal 3 damage to an enemy and freeze it. Deal 1 damage to all other enemy minions. Deal 4 damage to an enemy and 1 damage to all other enemy minions. So, for 1 less mana, you deal 1 less damage to the 1 minion, but you freeze it. And you still maintain that AoE effect. Like that's an easy 6 stars. Like that, not even a question. Like, do I need to explain that? That is an easy 6 stars. All right. No, Malignant Horror. 4 mana, 2/4 Reborn. At the end of your turn, spend 5 corpses, summon a copy of this minion. So, 4 mana, 2/4 Reborn with a Reborn is honestly weak. So, its value is that this is one of those cards you have whose value is to be like a corpse stump. You spend 5 mana to get the copy of this. Now, you do get the mana back, because this is Reborn, so you get 2 corpses back initially. If you summon another copy of this, assuming the copy has Reborn, so you'll spend like one second. You'll spend like 1 card, you'll generate 2 bodies, you'll get 4 corpses back on those bodies. I'm sitting up bad, I need to rest my back. 1 sec. Ow. Too much carrying my laptop. All right. So, you do this, and that's not bad. So the problem is, oh, and also this synergizes with buffs. So if you have hand buffs in there, like there's the there's the Neophyte. There's another card that's going to come up. It's a 2 mana 3/2 that gives the attack to a random minion in your hand. And if that happens on this, then obviously that is great. Or you can play this with board buffs. The 1/2 that buffs an undead, you can play this on 5, and you can get 2 4/4s with Reborn. Those are the plus sides. The minus side is, let's say you trade this off. The second copy, when you'll end up spending 5 corpses to summon basically a 2/1 if you trade this off. And that's horrible. This is one of those cards where it's like, I wish I had the option in order to turn off the ability to use corpses to summon a copy of the minion. So it's a weird card, which I think I'm going to be taking sometimes just because I need a corpse stump card, and this will be one of like the and this is one more if the opponent can't deal with it, you get like a giant board after a couple turns with it. So overall, I think this is a solid card. I don't think this is a great card, but I do think this is one of those cards where the overall value is a lot better than what it appears to be on the surface. So I have this here as like a low 3-star card. Okay, let me sit normal now. I had like back issues for a second here. All right, Glacial Advance. 3 mana, deal 4 damage. This can go face. Your next spell this turn costs 2 less. All right, so a Glacial Advance, like we've seen cards like this. 3 mana, deal 4 damage face. I mean, that's good. Your next spell this turn costs 2 less. I mean, again, that's good. So this card, like, it's just really a good card. Where did I put the Glacial Advance? I cannot find it on my thing here. So yeah. I actually made a mistake. I forgot that it could go face, so I'm going to actually bump it up to a 4-star card. Because I initially read it as minion instead of face, so that's my bad on it, but here. So I changed it on my thing here, and this 4-star card here. Like, just really good card. And then again, you have combo potential, which not really an arena thing, but it is a thing. Horn of Winter. This is not a thing. 0 mana, refresh 2 mana crystals. Like, it's not worth a card. Especially in arena, it's not worth the card. This is like one of the worst cards in the set. It's a 1-star card. Like, there's very few situations where, like, Innervate, when it gave you 2 extra mana crystals, was often not worth it. This is like borderline just complete garbage. It's just barely good enough to do something. Like there's a couple things where it might be useful, I'm not sure. Plague Strike, deal 3 damage to a minion. If that kills it, summon a 2/2 zombie with Rush. So it's basically like a multi-shot that's controlled for 2 mana. I mean, that's really, really, really good. You can compare it to Frost Strike. Frost Strike gives you lets you discover a spell. Plague Strike gives you a 2/2 with Rush. So both are great cards. 5-star card. And remember, it's 2/2 with Rush. It's a corpse, so it can benefit you there. Icy Touch, deal 2 damage to a minion and freeze it. We've seen cards like this before. It's a 3-star card. There's really not all that much that needs to be said. Like, I don't need to waste time on that one here. And that's it for the comments. So now we go over to the rares. Blood Tap. Give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Spend 3 corpses to give them +1/+1 more. So, I've already went over this card. This is like a horrible valued card. Like, Mean Streets of Gadgetzan had better valued cards than this. Had hand buffs valued cheaper than this. Conditioning is like the warrior version where after turn 5, this is a conditioning that costs 3 extra mana in terms of corpses, while warriors just get it for 2 mana. So yeah, so it's another one of the things like the Grave Strength, where it's a bad card and I do not like it. I do not like that it is this weak, but I acknowledge that it does have its purposes, because there's things like the Malignant Horror, there's things like the triple 1/3 taunts, where you can combo this with that and you get a really, really, really powerful effect. Like, that said, one second. That said, I really can't go any higher than a 2-star on this. Hematurge, 2 mana, 2/3, battle cry, discover corpse, spend a corpse to discover a blood rune card. 2 mana, 2/3, that discovers a card. That's great. Now, you can't really play this on 2 unless you have a a turn 1 play. But in the mid to late game, this becomes just like 2/3 that discovers a card. So again, so it's like really, really good card. For me, I have it as a 4-star card. Like, you can rate it a little bit higher, a little bit lower. This is about what these kinds of cards would be valued. Vicious Bloodworm. 2 mana, 3/2, battle cry. Give a minion in your hand the attack equal to this minion's attack. So, again, Malignant Horror, the 3/1/3 spiders, they're all cards that would benefit from this. So, I mean, that's the best case. Worst case, you give a minion, like, giving a minion attack, like you need, is okay. It's not health. Health would be better. We've seen buff cards like this before. We know that it's good, but it's not really great. I have it as a 3-star card. Like I would say, is this better than like an old school shaky zip gunner? I can't really say so. All right, what's next one here? Next one is Tomb Guardians. Summon 2/2 zombies to taunt, spend 4 corpses to give them reborn. So you don't play this without the corpses. The 4 mana for 2/2s with taunt is just mediocre. It's bad. You don't want that. Now, with the reborn, you spend 4 corpses, but you ultimately get 4 corpses back, so it's a corpse neutral card for you. The question is, like, is this good enough to play on curve? So, is this good? So, like, are you going to be able to consistently get this on curve? It depends if you got like a meat grinder. It depends if you got like a the Plagued Grain. those are cards that like make this really, really powerful, and it kind of creates that corpse snowball effect. So overall, I like this card. I just think that it's going to be a little bit too difficult for it to go off consistently. And also it uses a lot of corpses up front, which impacts your other corpse cards down the line. So again, 3-star card. I would like good card, but it just there's enough issues with it. Unholy Frenzy. Choose an enemy minion. Your minions attack it. Resummon any that die. Compared to Devouring Swarm. Devouring Swarm was a 0-mana version of this card, and it put the minions back into your hand. This summons them back when you die. So you get to clear something. You get Wind Fury and Rush, depending on. You get basically Wind Fury and Rush, and you get the immediate summons. So you can trade this off, clear something, then play this and get like a big minion back because you weakened it first by trading it off. So I mean, yeah, this is a great card. As I said, I compare this to Devouring Swarm. Devouring Swarm was a borderline 5-star card. This is where I'm going to say the same thing. 89, borderline 5-star card. It's 4. No, not that one. This one. I copied the wrong thing from my spreadsheet. From my document. I meant to copy this. Yeah. Borderline 5-star card. I'm just going to say 4 for now, just because it does cost a decent amount and you need stuff on the board for it. Marrow Manipulator. So you have to spend 5 corpses. The good news is that at turn 6, you're probably going to have those corpses. The bad news is that if you've already used another card that spent corpses, you probably won't have those corpses. So if you have the corpses for this, it's great. But again, then there's the other problem where it's like kind of you have to spend 3 Frost Rings to invest into this. And that kind of like, it's not great. There's the fact that the damage can go face, which is always not great. So it's like, it's good. It's definitely good. I'm kind of like the RNG, the corpses, I'm not really sold on this. So I have to give it like a 3-star. I think it could be 4-star potential. I don't know 100% though. Death Chiller. After you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to 2 random enemy minions. Flame Wanker is back. So with the Death Chiller here, basically what happens is you have your spells and you shoot your spells and you shoot your load over to people. You deal 1 damage, you keep on pinging them. So the problem is, and this is the Flame Wanker problem, is that there's a refractory period for how often you can shoot your load off on people. And so you have to wait and you have to wait and you have to generate those spells. You have to drink some water, get those spells back, get some mana back, and then you have to go again. And then the second time you're shooting off your load on the people, it's not going to be as big of a load. So in Constructed, they're taking all these like performance enhancing things that allows them to, they're taking like they can control every single thing about it. So their loads are going to be significantly bigger than our arena loads from this. And then there's also the fact that the Flame Wanker, the loads from the Wanker were not really that strong. It was a 3-mana 2/4, and it was definitely a good card. It was definitely a scary card, but it really wasn't all that great of a card. You know, like, let me see here. It should still be in here. Let me check current arena. Let me check current arena. Flame Waker. Yeah, you take a look here at Mage. You take a look at Flame Waker. Yeah, Flame. Okay, let's go over here to Mage. And you look at it, it's not that good. You got Flame Juggler, you got Flame Lance, you got Flame Wanker, and it's not that good in Arena. Like, Flame Cannon is better than it, Flame Juggler is better than it, Flame Lance is better than it. So, and that's by a significant margin. And these are cards, so that's basically where I am on this. Like, I recognize the threat, but I also recognize what it really is. And so even though I'm going to give it 4 stars because you're not like actually costing anything on curve for it, like the threat is a lot more dangerous than like what you actually get hit with. And also it's the fact that however much the load ends up going face and does not clear the board. Finally here, Corpse Bride. Spend up to 8 corpses, summon a Risen Golem, Risen Groom with stats equal to the amount spent. So again, this is one of those cards where it's Corpse Stone. where you're just going to, in the mid to late game, you need to dump off your corpses, and this is one of those cards that just lets you get rid of a lot of them all at once. And that's pretty much what it is. Now, honestly, if you just drop 2 corpses on it, it's still an above average card. Like a 4/4 that summons a 4/3 for 5 mana. I mean, that's not bad. So so ultimately with this, I would say, like, but the problem is also that if you play this, you have to spend all that time building up your corpses again. So you are, like, this is a finisher card. This is not a card you want to play on 5. This is a card you want to play when you get rid of all your corpse cards, just so basically you can use your corpses. So that's kind of like where I'm selling on this a little bit. I think it's ultimately a 3-star card, but it's a card you'll want, just depending on the deck. All right, so that's rare. We go to epic. We go to epic. Okay. Epic Might of Menethil here. So with Might of Menethil, it's 4 mana, 4/2 weapon. We've seen those before. Those are strong. Spend up to 3 corpses, freeze that many minions. So again, really good card here. You get the corpses, you freeze them. So you spend 3 corpses, you get a Nova with it, basically, to freeze minions. You get removal, you get range. I mean, it's a really powerful card. I compare it to Death Spite. Is this better than Death Spite? And I would say I would honestly take Death Spite over this, but this is still like a really, really good card. So ultimately, it's a 5-star card. All right, Froststorm's Fury. Deal 5 damage, freeze all enemy minions, summon a 5/5 Froststorm. It's a Firelands portal with 0 RNG that adds a Frost Nova on top of the board. Okay, this is absolutely busted. This is without a question a 6-star card. Like, I'm not even gonna bother spending any time on this one. I don't need to. Blood Boil. Lifesteal, infect all enemy minions. At the end of your turn, they take 2 damage. I compare this to Holy Nova. So here's the deal. Holy Nova would heal your own minions, and it's immediate. The lifesteal effect, like, that sometimes is better, but I would say sometimes, like with Holy Nova, I play it to heal my minions as much as I do for the damage sometimes. And again, this is like the minion, like, if you play this on a minion and it doesn't die, then the opponent's just going to kill it off anyways. So it's one of these things where it's like, I don't really value the end of the turn effect for this, especially for an AoE. It's like, ultimately I say it's good though. Like, it's good, it's a 4-star card. It's just like, compared to other AoEs, which are like easily 5-star cards, I think there's enough things that hold this back from being like a top tier AoE. And then finally we got legendaries. We got 3 legendaries here. Legendary number 1, the Scourge. The Scourge. Fill your board with random undead. So that's the wrong one because I wanted to write Arthas legendary. So the issue with the Scourge is that if you take a look at the undead, like, actually I can just do this right now. I'm not going to bother. We've seen the undead before. Undead cards are generally pretty weak. Like, there's a few like cards in Wild that have big stats on them, but generally they're going to be weak bodies. So you're going to be spending 9 mana to basically flood the board with a bunch of weak bodies, and you hope your opponent doesn't clear. So again, I can't say that's great overall. I think it's okay. I think it's good, but I think, like, if you compare it to like normal Onyxia, 9 mana for an 8/8 and 6 1/1s, I think you're on average going to get a better return on that than you are on this. And there is also the one of the undead cards is the one where you have 3 turns to kill your opponent, and the first card you play costs 0 each turn, and that card can come out of this. So this is a situation where it can kill you by playing this card. So ultimately, it's still good. Like, it's still a 4-star card. And again, I might be overvaluing, and it might be 3 stars. I might be undervaluing, or I might not be valuing the spending 9 mana to just put stats on the board and do nothing. But I don't think it's like, I think it's good, but I can't say it's great. Lady Death Whisper. So, Death Rattle, copy all frost spells in your hand. So if you copy like one Glacial Blast or one Howling Blast or like one the 3 mana 4, I forget what it is, Glacial Advance, things like that. Like there are some really good, like Frost Strike. There are really good frost spells. If you copy one of it, it's more than worth it. It's well more than worth it. And I do think if you're taking a 3-star card here, you're going to have frost spells to copy with it. So like I'm being a little bit conservative by calling it a 3-star card, but this could end up being a 5. Like this is one of those cards where I have rated as 3 stars, but I would pick it really highly early on just because I would want to get those frost spells to go with this. And then Frostmourne here. Again, this is another Arthas card. 7 mana Death Rattle. Summon every minion killed by this weapon. So we've seen this before. So this is a great card, except in the current arena, like there's the question of, are you going to have the health for this? And like if you're a Blood DK, then yes, you are. And again, this is like one of those cards that's perfect for the Blood DKs. If you're a Unholy DK, like this is basically just 7 mana to deal 15 damage potential face. If you're a Frost DK, like again, you're just trying to like overpower your opponent, so I'm not really sold on this. So I think it's good. I think it's 4-star good. I don't think it's like breaks the game level good. All right, and that's it for the Path of Arthas cards. Basically, cards they introduced to get Death Knights up to the other classes in terms of cards in their rotation. So when we come back, we'll finish up. There's only 10 cards left. These are the March of the Lich King cards for Demon Hunter, and I'll just turn this over here, and I will see you guys for that one. So take care.